What is sales virtualization? Sales virtualization leverages the trends of social media, technology, and sales process reengineering to create a method to sell more product with less cost. There's three key drivers to this. The first is that every single one of us is in the information marketing business. Don't believe me? What do your salespeople do? They educate customers why they should buy from you, the features and benefits, all of the good things they'll get if they buy from you. They are delivering information to the customer, which means you're an information marketer. The problem is that we don't need salespeople to deliver information to customers anymore. The customers don't want it from a salesperson. They want it from the internet where they can control the flow and they can control the process. So there's really no need for salespeople to deliver information, yet we're all more in the information delivery business. Top of that, we all have a legacy sales system that uses Swiss Army knife salespeople. And what that is think about a Swiss Army knife. It's got a screwdriver, it's got a pair of scissors, it's got a little knife on it, it's got a whole bunch of little tools. It's the ultimate generalist. And we have treated our sales department as hiring a bunch of highly talented generalists is the best way to sell things. It's not. It's just expensive, and there's a much better screwdriver than the one in your Swiss Army knife, and there's a much better knife than the one in your Swiss Army knife. What the process we want to follow is to replace our Swiss Army knives with focused tools, leverage technology that does currently exist with customer self-service at the beginning stages of the marketing. We're going to let the customer self-service their own information rather than be delivered by an expensive salesperson and Swiss Army knife. And then we will implement a lead scoring system to create more closable leads for those expensive salespeople. Here's a real-life example of how a customer did this. This person was a franchisor. They sold franchises. Here were the issues that they were having. First and foremost, a typical franchise gets 100 to 300 raw leads or inquiries for every one franchise sold. The traditional way of selling those is somebody picks up the phone and calls these people, tries to qualify them, tries to sell them a franchise. The difficulty you get into is, do we over-include or over-exclude? Meaning, if we go, oh my gosh, 300, that's way too many, we need to cut that down, and we start qualifying people, that's going to be over-exclusion, and here's why. Imagine you went for a franchise, and the first thing I do is start asking you, how much money do you have? When are you willing to start? And I start qualifying you because I'm sick and tired of dealing with 300 people. Eventually what happens is I get rid of what would have been a good lead. I over-exclude. The other option is to over-include. Everybody's a good prospect, and so we try not to qualify at all, and that has the downside of taking a ton of expensive salesperson time. And this was leading to a problem because they were being over-inclusive and talking to too many people and spending too much on their sales department, that the cost of dealing with a bad lead was astronomical. And then there was the hidden cost, that there was a psychological toll on the salespeople because they were getting their heads beat in. They were talking to a whole bunch of people that didn't buy. And you don't want your salespeople to have to talk to 300 people to make one sale. It tends to lead to a demoralized sales force. So here's what we did. We did exactly what I've been talking about. We took the initial parts of the sales process and pushed them into a virtualized environment. Specifically, here's what we did. When someone came in to the funnel, typically from a website, we used CRM and Salesforce automation software to capture that lead, put them into a database, and immediately send them a ton of information. We sent them approximately 50% of all the information we would send any prospect over the course of a month to 6 weeks. We sent initially, which was a little bit scary because we were afraid to disclose all of our goodies too soon. But we decided to fall on the sword, send out a ton of information, and then follow a mutual opt-in process. And what that means is we fall on the sword. we give the customer a ton of information up front, and then we make the prospect raise their hand and say, I would like to learn more information, or I opt into your sales process. And we actually made them do this twice. So, for instance, one of the items that we sent was an hour-long 12-component video FAQ from the founder, about 5 minutes apiece. So they had a ton of initial questions that everyone always asks the salespeople being delivered in an automated fashion. And we tracked whether each lead watched that video or not. And if they did not watch that video, they did not got the time and attention of a salesperson. The second thing we did, once they watched the video, they were dumped out of track number 1 onto track number 2 sales process. And in track number 2, they were sent a survey. And these questions were somewhat helpful to the prospect, but also helpful to us. So we didn't want to just say, here's how you can serve us by answering these questions. We wanted to serve the prospect as well. But they must complete this survey and, again, opt into our sales process for the second time. Once the prospect completed that survey, now we deem them ready to talk to a live human and, frankly, qualified. That's what mutual opt-in is all about. The prospect opts into your process by you delivering ever-increasing value of information or services, whatever you want to deliver. You have to keep giving more to get them to opt in more. And then at some point, we opt in with our time, energy, and personal commitment to that person. What ended up happening was the salespeople dealt with 1/11th the number of initial phone calls and meetings than they did under the other system, and their sales went up 47%. And the reason is you can take a bigger funnel at the top if it's automated. If it doesn't take humans, you can deal with much more workload. So we were very, very inclusive. Everyone's welcome. Then we use mutual opt-in. Then we throw highly skilled people, because we don't need Swiss Army knives. We need sharpshooters for this. Sales up 47%. You can learn even more about this process at virtualzo.com.